Iran-Israel breaking news live update. Israel rendered Iran essentially defenseless by eliminating its principal air defenses. Sources inform Fox News that the remaining three S-300 batteries were destroyed by airstrikes. An Israeli official claims that the majority of Iran's air defense was taken out. Israel has purportedly destroyed 4 Russian-made S-300 air defense systems in strikes on Iran this year, 1 in April and 3 this past weekend, according to a Tuesday report. These systems were the only ones in possession of the Islamic Republic. According to an anonymous senior Israeli official, the preponderance of Iran's air defense was eliminated, as reported by Fox News. A senior U.S. official verified that the Saturday airstrikes destroyed 3 S-300 systems, in addition to other significant military targets. The assaults occurred subsequent to Iran's launch of a barrage of ballistic missiles at Israel at the commencement of the month. At the outset of the year, Iran had only 4 S-300 systems, and Israel had already destroyed one of them in April in response to Iran's previous missile attack on the country. According to the report, the senior Israeli official was quoted by Fox as stating that the preponderance of Iran's air defense was taken out. Amos Hochstein, the senior Mideast advisor to U.S. President Joe Biden, was also quoted as stating during an internal call that Iran is essentially naked and susceptible to potential future aerial attacks. According to previous reports, Israel has also destroyed additional air defenses that surround critical energy facilities, as well as drone production sites and critical long-range missile production facilities that contain solid fuel mixers that will require at least a year to replace. This has impeded Iran's capacity to replicate its 2 missile attacks on Israel this year. The total was consistent with a report published by the Wall Street Journal on Sunday, which stated that all of Iran's S-300s are currently inoperable. Nevertheless, Iran has made an effort to minimize the extent of the harm caused by the airstrikes. On Wednesday, local media reported that Defense Minister Aziz Nasrzadeh had insisted that missile production had not been disrupted. The adversary has attempted to undermine both our defensive and offensive systems. However, they were unsuccessful due to our preparations and awareness, he stated. Nasrzadeh also appeared to corroborate that a defense system may have been damaged in the attack, as he stated that it was replaced the day after. The manufacturing process of missiles is not disrupted, as the production knowledge is indigenous. He made his statement the day after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that the Israeli strikes had devastated industrial factories of death. In a speech to the Knesset plenum, Netanyahu stated, "We have significantly undermined Iran's defense systems and its capacity to export missiles. We were not targeting these basic tools." Last week, 2 American researchers informed Reuters that Israeli airstrikes had struck buildings that Iran utilized for the purpose of mixing solid fuel for ballistic missiles. They hypothesized that this may have substantially impeded Iran's capacity to mass-produce missiles. On Tuesday, Iranian state media also reported that Iran's defense minister Nasrzadeh stated that the country was still capable of launching a dozen additional missile barrages against Israel, similar to those that were observed on April 13 and October 1. New York Times has reported that the attacks on the air defenses caused deep alarm in Iran, citing 3 unnamed Iranian officials, one of whom was from the country's oil ministry. The attacks rendered the Abadan oil refinery, Bandar Imam Khomeini petrochemical complex, and an adjacent major port in Khuzestan province, as well as the Tanj Bijar gas field in the Ilam province, defenseless. The S-300 is capable of simultaneously tracking and striking multiple targets and has a range of up to 200 kilometers, 125 miles. It is believed to be one of the most potent air defense weapons in the world and is capable of shooting down both aircraft and missiles. The retaliatory assaults on Iranian military facilities by Israel occurred weeks after an attack on October 1, during which Iran launched 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, causing the majority of the population to evacuate to bomb shelters and safe rooms. It resulted in the death of a Palestinian man in the West Bank and caused relatively minor damage to military bases and certain residential areas. Days following the Israeli airstrike in Beirut that resulted in the death of Hassan Nasrallah, the renowned Hezbollah leader, the Iranian attack struck. Iran also claimed that the missiles were a response to the July detonation in Tehran that resulted in the death of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, which was widely believed to have been caused by Israel. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of the country, stated on Sunday that it should not be exaggerated nor minimized. In recent days, other Iranian officials have issued statements that are more combative, promising retribution. On Tuesday, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant Gen. Herzi Halavi issued a warning to Iran, urging it to refrain from launching any additional attacks against Israel. Halavi cautioned that Israel would reach Iran with capabilities that we did not even use this time, and hit exceedingly hard both the capabilities and the places that we spared this time, if the Islamic Republic again attacks. Iran has promptly attempted to minimize the consequences of Israel's attacks on its territory this weekend, implying that it has implemented an exit strategy to prevent a more extensive conflict. However, the attack established a precedent that the Islamic Republic has endeavored to avoid since its start 40 years ago. The adversaries had for decades refrained from engaging in direct confrontation, opting instead to engage in a covert war in which they traded blows. As Iran continued to activate its Arab proxy militias to attack the Jewish state, Israel employed clandestine operations to assassinate key Iranian figures and conduct cyberattacks on critical facilities. The attack on Saturday was the first time Israel has publicly acknowledged striking Iran, thereby bringing the shadow war into the open and surpassing a threshold that has prompted some in the Islamic Republic to doubt the country's deterrence capabilities. In April, Iran launched an attack on Israel in retaliation for what it claimed was an Israeli attack on its diplomatic facility in the Syrian capital of Damascus. U.S. officials reported that Israel responded by attacking Iran mere days later. Israel refrained from publicly acknowledging the assault. Nevertheless, the most recent assault was distinct. Israel declared that it executed precise strikes against Iranian military targets. Israel's military spokesman, Daniel Hagari, praised the success of the attack, asserting that Israel now has a more extensive aerial freedom of operation in Iran. Iran's state media promptly released images depicting the continuation of daily life in its cities shortly after the assault. Schools continued to operate, and Tehran streets were in a state of congestion due to traffic. Hardline commentators ridiculed the attack on television, and social media memes ridiculed the Israeli response's narrow scope. The emergence of an internal debate. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei chose to provide a measured response in